Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Snagged podcast and giveaways. It's getting cold outside, as everyone probably knows. Hooch and I just both turned our air conditioners off or the heat pumps off, as I say, because it was a little bit noisy.
Yeah,
Things working well.
Bearings gone in mine. We've all got hoodies on because winter's here. Finally, we got a bit of a shock to the system because I suppose autumn was quite warm, wasn't it? Now what are we? We're not technically winter, but yeah, she's here. We've got big frosts forecast. The water temperature still, I always say, and always have been told by the scientists, that the water temperature doesn't go away as quick as what the ambient air temperature is. So the water temperature, for example, out of Bass Strait is still about 17 degrees. And it wasn't that this morning. I can give you the tip when I got up. It was more likely 5, and I reckon it would have struggled to go. It might have got to 15, 17 degrees today. But, that water will start to cool, and those fish will, probably move into other areas.
Which makes sense, absolutely. Well, the idea of moving into a warm area at the moment has certainly gone through my mind.
Like Fiji would be good.
That's it. Yeah, the old joints are starting to hurt. Certainly getting old, mate. It happens.
Yeah, so the reports are a bit light on, but we can talk about what's going on up on the northwest coast briefly with the tuna. That has really kicked off. So here about 4 days ago, the first one was hooked and landed. And we're talking jumbo size because the schoolies have been here pretty much for the last few months, really. They quietened off a bit, and then the big ones have come through. So that is very, very good. I think 3 were dropped that day that one was boated, and then yesterday one was boated with a couple dropped. One tagged on spin gear. They were using a pink popper. And then today there's a little comp going on. The Port Sorell Fishing Club, they run a comp which is pretty cool. It's not a game fishing club. It's just a heap of people that just want to make fishing fun again. They don't have too many rules, so you can enter your boat and you can catch a fish, and it doesn't even matter if you share the rod, as long as you catch the fish and it ends up in the boat. You can enter that fish. So it's not a game fishing comp. It's just a fishing fun event.
Yeah, it's a good way to do it.
Yeah, and they've ran that. They've decided to extend that for another month because it's not just over a weekend. You can enter that, and you have got a certain amount of time to fish, but you're only allowed to fish for 5 days. So you can pick your weather windows, and you might even take a day off or something during the week. It's entirely up to. So that's a pretty cool one. Plenty of fish about.
I ran a comp many years ago when I was working at Tackle Us. It was the same sort of scenario. We had all these guys that were umming and ahhing about getting into this comp fish and stuff, and they were all a bit confused about the rules and the regs, because there are a lot of rules and regs, as there probably should be in those game comps. So we had not a no rules competition, but there's no line class record. So you want to run 37, you can. You want to run 500-pound mono straight through, you can do that. And mate, the amount of people we got in it was absolutely insane. Almost got too big for itself. And I was talking to a lot of these guys now. A lot of those guys did that comp, had fun in it, and they thought, it's not that hard to go and do this stuff. And other people to join the tuna clubs down here and around Tasmania, it's fantastic. It's what it's all about.
Yes, and I look at it like this. If you see the Game Fish Associations and the TGFA, the Tasmanian Game Fishing Association, well, they're like AFL football. And then if you run a comp with not many rules, well, that's more like your TFL, your old Tasmanian League. And then this competition that they're running at Port Sorell, their thing, it's more like just the regional leagues, as long as you are safe and as long as you, got your life jackets on, they don't pull any punches in regards to the safety equipment. But the rules are if you land the fish, weigh it, heaviest fish wins. So, and they'll have lots of funny little prizes too. They're a good club like that. So they'll have one for the worst angling story, or they might give a prize away on best presented boat or something like that. So that'll be
cool. Good on them.
Good bit of fun. But as far as the other stuff, the other fish, there's been a bit of a keen interest. I've spoken to a number of people that are keen to go out and try some salmon, Australian salmon, because they hang on this time of year. They're always fairly active. Some of the bigger ones sort of move through and are harder to find this time of the year. down the west coast they tend to be, but that might be. There's actually two strains or variants of Australian salmon. One's sort of the west coast one, and one's more of an east coast one. That west coast one down at Sandy Cape, they are big bruisers, and if you catch one of those, they are absolute rippers. But the reason why people have been sort of showing some more interest in a species that has sort of been looked down its nose a little bit by some of the anglers is they were at Agfest and ate some of the smoked salmon that I spoke about. Did I speak about that last
You did last
week?
week, yeah, absolutely.
And I was quite surprised because I'd mentioned it on radio on last Friday, and a couple of people in town, and they said, "Oh yeah, we were at Zagfest and we tried some as well, and we're going to go and try and do some and smoke." Well, I took the kids for a fish. We only had a little window on the Saturday, and didn't get anything of size. So I'm still yet to catch a few and try my skills at smoking. But I did buy a thermometer. You know those thermometers you put in the meat?
Yep.
Well, I've got a thermometer. They've got leads on them and they come out to a control station and I can carry this thing around with me and it'll tell me. Oh, yeah, she's full blown. I could see that was going to be a problem because I would forget. I'd put something on to smoke and I'd forget, and the next thing I'd know, the fire brigade would be there, nothing surer. So this thing sets an alarm off and all sorts of stuff when it's ready. So
yeah, I've got one. They're a great thing.
Yeah, I wanted to get one that went to my phone, but that was a bit more expensive, and I thought, well, let's just warm into it first before I go a bit silly.
Yeah, good idea, absolutely. Yeah, no, meat probes are an amazing thing for cooking food, all sorts of food. Don't have to be fish, obviously doing I smoke a fair bit of food and stuff like that. So knowing exactly what that internal temp's coming out at is a good thing to do. And yeah, you're not wrong. Those WIFO ones are not cheap.
No. So I'll invest in those a bit later on. But it's also a lot of times if you miss your window, you can ruin something. Like I tell my dear old mum about venison. Like I'll shoot a deer and I say to her, look, don't cook this like you cook beef, because older people will they think there's germs in the meat. If you don't cook it with an inch of its life, everyone's going to die. And it's just not the case. And so the venison, you got to cook it pretty rare. And I tell Mum all the time, you got to cook it rare and then let it sit. Leave it wrapped up in the foil or whatever she's got going on and let it sit. But no, she'll just go, oh, no, it needs another 15, 20 minutes. Next minute, wow.
That's it. Get it to wrap it in bacon.
Yeah, well, what I'll do is I'll teach her how to use these probes. Or if I can get my head around it all and I go to the wireless probe to my phone, well, then I'll handle that wired probe. So you just poke the wires in the meat and it comes out the door. You shut the door on the rubber seal and it comes out to the little unit.
Yeah, very good.
And away you go.
Any fishing reports up north?
What have I heard? Not so many fishing reports. There was a fair bit of panic and pandemonium about when they towed the trial research is probably a better term for the pens that they're trying on the northwest coast. So I think about 12 or 15 kilometres off Burnie, there is a group of people doing a study about what is possible. Yes, they're utilising Atlantic salmon and yellowtail kingfish, but it's not a trial as such. It's a research project. And once that research project is finished, then they'll deliver some I suppose, findings, and it will be up to the fish farm companies to work out their business model, and if they think they can get something to run, then they have to go through all the EPA legislation. They have to put in all the permits, and the process starts from scratch. So there's been a few up this way starting a bit of a panic attack about, it's just the thin end of the wedge. But I've looked right into it. It's not the thin end of the wedge. It will be if we don't keep our eye on it. But at this stage, it's a research thing going for 3 years. And at the end of it, when they deliver their findings, we'll have to get involved when I say we, rec fishers, the general community, regional communities, and just work out exactly what we want to do. So, yeah, that's the only other big thing happening in the rec space, I think, up this way.
Cool. Well, there's not been a lot of reports in the south, but I managed to go through and find every last little bit of anything on the internet today. But a few reports of snapper in Northwest Bay starting to come up. So that was the same as last week. Not mainly juveniles. Most of them being released. There's a few big deep holes and stuff through Northwest Bay or south of Northwest Bay. There's a few guys managed to get on a few smaller snapper there. Still plenty of tuna down Eaglehawk Neck. Weather's been a little bit hard for a lot of people, but there's a few people managing to get a few of those down there. Dermot's fishing well for bream. As is always this time of year, a lot of them are hanging deep, plastics and vibes, as we said last week as well. But I did notice there's a few guys out there fishing up in the shallows, so obviously they're moving around a little bit and doing quite well in the shallows as well. Some Sonic Trevally out in Storm Bay. A lot of the guys are saying Burley's the key, as they always are with snotty, so burley, and away you go. Aussie salmon and mackerel still fishing well. Silver lures, obviously the best way to go there. Sabiki rigs for the mackerel, we can't go past Sabiki. I was actually talking to a guy today who was chasing mackerel off the Margate Wharf with Sabiki rigs. The next minute, this bloody gubby come through and smacked it. He's like, you managed to land this thing on a Sabiki rig, just completely wrapped itself up this Sabiki rig, and he managed to land that, which is kind of cool. Obviously released because it's a shark nursery. A couple of good reports come out. Little Swamport for bream, and a few other guys were getting some garfish and salmon in good numbers in the same area. One thing they did say, some of the bream were on surface lures, so that's kind of cool for this time of year. Not something people do all the time, but bream can be pretty challenging on surface lures, but it's a cool way to catch them. If anyone's not done it, I highly recommend trying. Garfish and salmon in good numbers in the channel, and plenty of mackerel around as well. And one of my good friends and my father went fishing in Georges Bay at St Helens over the last couple of days and smashing the squid in there, like big calamari too.
Oh, nice. It's good. Good to hear that they're still around.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not something you sort of hear too many big squid reports this time of year, but yeah, they had a really good session in there. I think half a dozen. They were bloody good hoods, so yeah, good work there. Brag time. What have we got? Kobe Pierce with a nice snotty Trevally and Taylor, which is cool. Obviously, we were talking about them being around before. Gene Gore with a nice nighttime bream from the Jordan River. Paul Hall with a nice blue spot flathead, his first one he'd ever caught. That was a good looking fish.
I saw that. That was a nice fish, yeah.
Absolutely. Young Nathan Housing and I don't know her name, so let's call her the future Mrs. Housing. And Michael Gurner with a nice elephant fish. The elephants are being up pretty well down recently, but this was the only report I've got, and I know it was a few days old, so I didn't put it back in the report section itself. But elephant fish are a cool thing, and they seem to be getting thicker and thicker down here, which is kind of cool. It's a nice thing to sort of go out there and chase something a little bit different to the regular stuff. And one you sort of sent me talking about was young Jarvis Wall with that cracking bluefin up north.
Yep. No, good fish. And then one report that I had come through this afternoon, I nearly forgot. David John Gould sends a bit of stuff through to the hot bite quite often. He caught a fish and asked, "Oh, what is this?" And I had a bit of a think about it. It looked like a bastard trumpeter, but it wasn't quite the right colour, and the sun was hitting it funny. But it came back that it was a blue. Let me have a look. A blue Morwong. So
Cool.
It was quite a reasonable size blue Morwong. I think they're a reasonably decent eating fish. So that was
Absolutely,
in 40. Yeah, that was in 40 metres on bait off Mariah somewhere.
Yeah, I saw you did an episode of the Hot Bite the other night. How'd they go?
Yeah, good. I haven't done one for a while because it's tricky to do it Fridays. I tried to go back to doing it Fridays, but it's just too hectic. You know, Agfest is on, and then the kids have got stuff on. So I'm just going to do it Mondays from now on.
That's it, the Friday-ish Hot Bite.
Yeah, it'll just be the Friday night Hot Bite in honour of Mozza on a Monday.
That's it.
Because
this stuff takes a lot of time, you know. Like it doesn't seem like it does, but by the time you sort of go scouring the internet and putting reports together, stuff does take a bit of time. So
yeah, and I just need to keep doing it a bit more continuity. But it's crazy. People really enjoy it, and I share the odd story about Moz, just anecdotally. Don't try to, just if something pops up. And we, just talk about a bit of everything, really. And I quite enjoyed doing it. I didn't for a while. It was hard work because it makes me think of Moz a lot back in like the first 12 months of doing it. And that's why I think I was a little bit sort of stagnated and a little bit stiff with it. And now I'm just deciding to drop the hammer and do it the same spirit as Moz, just get loose. And because he used to probably have 2 or 3 Friday night drinks on board by the time he got wound up. So, yeah, I don't drink.
Yeah, it was quite an eventful show.
Yeah, so I don't drink, so I'll just make sure I'm in a good mood every Monday. And I'm normally home on Monday nights. You normally come home for a rest. All right, too easy. Well, that's.
I'll be man. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you tuning in, and hope you got something out of this. And just remember, www.snagged.com.au. Grab yourself a membership, support us for what we do, so we can keep doing this sort of stuff. And we want to look forward to giving away some stuff.
And if you've got any questions and would like to have a little segment on something, by all means, send a message to Snag while you're getting that membership, and we'll
absolutely. Or even if someone you'd like us to interview, that's a good one. If there's someone you'd like to get on there so we can ask some questions to, let us know. We'll try and make it happen.
Sounds like a plan. All right, I'll catch you later.
Yeah. Catch you guys.